Hey guys, welcome to the first ever Retroactive Andy Awards, hosted as always by me, Connor, and my good friend Dan.
Hello.
So, the Retroactive Andes is an idea I had a few months ago, based on the common held belief, or one that we used to hear parroted a lot, that the Oscars should only happen really once every 5 years, or 10 even, I've heard. So the films that are nominated and win have had a cultural impact, not just the best of that year, but the best last 5 or 10 years. And that made me think we should do Andy's Awards, where it's nominees from the past 5 years we've done this show. And these nominees, so it doesn't get too overboard, is all stuff that's been nominated in years past. Because if we opened the floodgates fully to the last 5 years, I would be ripping my hair out.
Yeah, we couldn't have handled that. That would have been crazy.
So don't expect, if you are scorned still from years past that blank didn't get an Andy nomination, that's not going to change today.
Sadly, no.
And I'm sorry to hear you, and sorry to tell you that, but these are stuff that's been previously nominated, and I think how the structure is going to go, Dan, correct if I'm wrong, we're going to go through the show as normal, but at the end we're going to have a special Best Picture award after the regular Best Picture award.
Yes.
That we're calling the Retroactive Picture, or colloquially, the We Fucked Up Award. And those nominees are movies that we had not seen, or some of us refused to watch before the consideration deadline was met.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we would have nominated these films for Best Picture. It means they would have been in contention for multiple categories, maybe Best Picture, that given year. And through some extraneous circumstance, we weren't able to get to it. Or definitely me, said, I don't have time or I'm not interested. So I just kind of shut it down.
Do you know the movie that I'm going to say, Dan, that you didn't get to in time? Do you have any ideas?
Here's the thing. The only ones I remember, all the ones that actually got a nomination, but I trusted you on, like Mass and Blue Bayou and stuff like that.
I will give you a hint. You did trust me on something about this movie being good, but not picture.
Oh, no.
So we'll talk about it.
Yeah, when we get to it, we get to it. Okay.
So it's going to go that Dan's going to read his nominations, and then if I agree with any of them, we'll talk about them, then I'll read the rest of mine, so on and so forth.
Quick thing before I get to Best Production. It was really interesting going back through 5 years of cinema, which has been, for me, and I'm assuming for my co-host Connor, a really impactful 5 years of cinema.
Yeah.
3 of those being while we were in film school together, and just overall being a really interesting look at getting through a pandemic, getting through huge changes in Hollywood and global cinema to begin with, and seeing a lot of new directors come to the forefront and see a lot of old directors not have a second wind, but come through with other films that have kind of go toe-to-toe with their original kind of lauded work. So it's kind of cool to see how all this sort of blends together with All List, how we've grown as, I guess, nominators, and just kind of seeing where we are now. So, yeah. To start off, we have Best Production, easily the hardest category I had in this entire thing.
Really? This is probably my easiest category.
Really? Oh, no. I couldn't believe how many amazing sets and costumes and makeup and art direction were really put in the forefront of so many films we nominated. And we were just treated to so many beautiful different worlds, because I always say Best Production is kind of like best world building almost, the way it's the film visually, aesthetically is able to describe this cinematic world to you. So my 5 nominees that I feel like have kind of stood the test of time for the Retroactive Best Production, I would nominate 1917, Dune, The French Dispatch, Babylon, and Poor Things.
Okay, so Dan, we have 3 nominations in common.
Oh, all right.
Which is good.
Yeah.
So the ones we have in common, we have Babylon, Poor Things, and Dune is my bet.
Yes, okay. I have French Dispatch in 1917, and what all the other 2 that you have?
I have Little Women and Emma.
Here's the thing. Emma was my number 6. Emma was just barely didn't make the cut. And here's the thing. That was one that won that year. It won Best Production. So it was difficult. But no, I looked at a lot of films just from more recent years, being French Dispatch, Babylon, and Poor Things, just blew me away. I think those are really strong additions. Obviously, like, you look at winners like Triangle of Sadness and Asteroid City not being on my list. That's not to say they don't rock, but looking back, it's like, I love how Damien Chazelle builds the world of Babylon in old Hollywood. I think that's so impressive. Again, especially during the silent picture era. It's kind of the fun half of the movie, but I am always enamored. I'm always thinking about that. Like, every couple of weeks, I'll be like, God, that one scene in the desert when they're shooting all those movies, like, it's just amazing. So, yeah.
Well, the scene they're shooting all the movies, the party we begin with.
Oh my God, the party. Yeah, that's, oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, the expression is so overused and trite, but a feast for the eyes is very much the case in that movie.
Absolutely.
And then, I went with Little Women, because obviously I'm a big sucker for costume pieces. And the dresses and all those things are so good.
They all good, yeah.
What's the, this is a thing you won't know anything about, Dan. It's a piece of popular culture.
Oh.
I believe Gail from, Oprah and Gail fame. Do you know who that is?
I don't. I
Basically,
don't know
she's a
Gail.
journalist.
I know Oprah.
Yeah, she's a journalist who's Oprah's best friend. They worked together for years. Gail was once asked what she thought about Taylor Swift, and she just said, "Oh, such pretty gowns." Really, she had nothing nice to say about Taylor, so she just said like she had a pretty dress.
Yeah, okay.
And that just reminds me of just what I said. I love those dresses. Like, oh, those pretty gowns.
It's beautiful. Yeah. But all right, yeah. So Best Production. Those are all nominees. You want to kick off Best Editing?
Yes, Dan. The retroactive nominees for Best Editing are Kirk Baxter, The Killer; Tom Cross, Babylon; Jennifer Lame, Oppenheimer; Margaret Sixel, 3,000 Years of Longing; and Pietro Scalia for Ferrari.
Connor, we got 3.
3-3, cool.
A very good 3. We have Babylon, Oppenheimer, and Ferrari in common. In fact,
no love for Kirk Baxter.
No love for Kirk Baxter in The Killer. Nothing against Kirk Baxter, but that was the winner in 2023.
No. Yes. Kirk Baxter did win last year. Yes.
I was amazed to find that within my Best Editing category, 3 of the films from 2023 beat out Kirk Baxter to be on my noms list, and that is Ferrari, Oppenheimer, and The Iron Claw. I went back to The Iron Claw for moments and was so amazed. I remember this in the theater when I saw it for the first time. I was so amazed at how seamlessly they were able to construct a timeline for the film that had multiple time jumps. That whole thing it's like a movie of time jumps. It's like, you're okay, now it's a week away, a month away, another year is gone. It's 18 months. And the fact that the audience is never lost and the audience is able to follow the characters, where they are emotionally, where they are in time, little things just like haircuts and calendar choices and ways of like taking one scene and placing it specifically on the opening frame of another scene. I was really unpacking it, and I was impressed by how it did it. Whereas, like, I mean, come on, Kirk Baxter for The Killer. Some amazing editing with like the fight scenes and some of the suspenseful scenes where Fassbender is just trying to evade the bad guy. Anyways, yeah, it's certainly at a high level, but yeah, it slipped for me. It just barely missed it.
I mean, Iron Claw was a pretty close contender for me too. Like you said, just the I hate to use the word subtlety again, but just how like simply and elegant it kind of reads.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like the reveal that Carrie lost his foot, like this shot of him on the motorcycle, and all of a sudden you just see him in bed.
Yeah.
And you see this, you can see the scars on his back first, right? And then as you don't see that he lost his foot until you see the wide shot of the kitchen when he limps up to the, and you don't see him until he closes the fridge door.
He closes the fridge. I was going to say,
That's
like
right.
He's getting something and then he closes the fridge door, and it's like, oh.
That's right.
It just really, it does a good job of, again, keeping the timeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Ferrari, amazingly exciting, cutting between racing scenes and Penelope Cruz scenes and Adam Driver scenes. all separated but all kind of together, flowing in this very exciting engine of a movie. And then Oppenheimer telling this epic story over, I mean, it's Christopher Nolan, so like trying to keep track of the timelines is something else in his movie.
And honestly, Jennifer Lame, coming from editing Tenet as well.
Yeah,
she does have a very good sense of how to do Nolan's chronology.
Yeah.
And how to make that...
Tenet for me was like one of the most confusing timeline ones he had done probably since Memento.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And it was so complex that you really were on a first and second watch losing the audience, especially in the third act. Almost completely in the third act. It's just like, these are the red guys and these are the blue guys. Good luck. Some are forward, some are backwards. And you're just like, this is a mess.
Yeah. When you edit a temporal pincer movement, you have to have some like level of skill.
Exactly. So
but yeah, Jennifer Lame just balancing that incredibly dense chronology with Oppenheimer.
Yes.
And we have like scenes that are like, 30 years apart. We're only there for a minute, It's just crazy. We're constantly jumping back and forth.
And the idea of like, more than any other film, this film for Nolan it was very montage-like, or you would just have these sudden flashbacks of like other things going on, which actually felt very Malick at times. Like if you've seen Tree of Life, you constantly see flashbacks to other just quick shots and moments and dream sequences and all these things. And I feel like Nolan really wanted to capture that grandiosity from that movie and kind of use it as an inspiration for Oppenheimer. And I think, again, the editing is very good.
And then Margaret Sixel for 3,000 Years of Longing. Did you ever see that movie, Dan?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I caught it opening
I know
weekend.
that's one you missed.
Oh.
But obviously Margaret Sixel editing Mad Max Fury Road. Like she obviously has a very keen sense of energy. And that thing that could very easily be like this kind of slow, like meddling story. You really get that energy from that edit.
Yeah,
and it
even when
propels
it's
that
like
thing forward.
so much of the first two acts is just in one room.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how you can still be so invested. The magic of editing.
Yeah.
And for me, the two films, I did mention Iron Claw, but the other film that I wanted to highlight for best editing, along with Babylon, Oppenheimer, Iron Claw, and Ferrari, was Blonde. Another expertly edited film, considering trying to capture the long, not long enough in my opinion, but long career and lifetime of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Her time, her experiences, what to highlight on, and how to frame that within the editing. Whether it's
Blonde was a really hard cut for me.
Yeah, I imagine. I knew it had to be on here. It's difficult because, best editing is a new category. We only had 2 years to choose from. So it's not like it's half of our nominees ever all making it on this list, And that'll be the same for best stunts as well. But yeah, no, Blonde, I went back to, and I was like, I'm still amazed at how you kind of have this prologue in the beginning of her youth, dealing with her mother, and how that kind of informs the rest of the film. Because I feel like sometimes you have a major flashback like that, and the question is, where do you put it? When you want to tell that part of a story, do you have like opening scenes of like adult Marilyn, and then it flashes back and moves forward? Because a lot of biopics do that. It's a really high class version of doing the record scratch, and it's like, yeah, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here, Like a lot of films do that. That's a classic sort of trope. But having the film start off on that long extended sequence of her childhood, that one traumatic experience, really goes to cement the film as a powerful biopic of a really tragic Hollywood story. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, next up, we're moving on to Best VFX, a film that has been around since the first annual Andes, so we had a lot to pick away from. And this is one of my first categories, and this will be somewhat of a theme throughout the rest of the categories as we move forward. One of the categories where I was really happy with who we picked originally. So my nominees, all actually 4 winners: Dr. Sleep,
Wow.
The Invisible Man, The Creator, Avatar: Way of Water, and instead of Beatles Get Back in 21, I ended up going with Dune. because I really gave it some thought, and now we have Dune Part 2. So in any way, it's almost like Dune Part 2 has given me recency bias potentially for Dune Part 1 in a sense of like it made me go back and really break down those sets and all the ornithopters and the sandworms and the dunes, the literal sand desert, and just the color work and how that was all achieved. I mean, those films are shot digital, but then scanned onto like a film print. Does that count as a visual effect?
No, I don't think so.
It's
I
not.
Think
it's like it's a practical.
It's not a visual effect.
It's cinematography.
That's just Craig Fraser's process. Did the same thing for the Batman.
Exactly.
It gives the movie a nice depth.
It does, and it really helps it. So with all that in mind, I think Dune does end up kind of edging Beatles Get Back a little bit. Not to say Beatles Get Back is not a visual effect feat, but no, those were what I went with for VFX.
So I'm gonna first of all, you have 4 in common.
Woo! Nice.
I think one of our few blunders we've had in the Andes was giving the award to Beatles Get Back that year.
A little bit.
Because, like, I've told you, I think, obviously, we're not at fault for AI, but us giving an award to AI visual effects now reads so, like, what the hell were you thinking?
I don't know. I mean, like, going back, I don't regret nominating Beatles Get Back or celebrating Beatles Get Back.
It shouldn't have got the win over Dune, which is
I'm
also
okay.
on my list.
I'll accept that, but it's a thing of, yes, AI was used to help improve that footage and the audio, but at the same time, it wasn't the kind of AI that's replacing people's jobs or degrading the art of filmmaking. It's a very special and particular AI that Peter Jackson developed himself, particularly for the voices of the Fab Four and the visuals of this film stock. It was so meticulous and put together for this film that it couldn't really be replicated. It's like, okay, we could just find some other crappy film and we just do copy, paste, Get Back, look like, and then we just suddenly have that. There was so much human handwork into that development. And yes,
it was what AI
it's more computer technicians than it is like film people, but it's still a feat, and I'll stand by that,
It's still a tool, It's not something that's replacing people, like you said.
Exactly.
That's the one part where I'm not against us nominating it. I just think, like, for all the things you said, Dune being an achievement of VFX, it is kind of like weird to me that we did Get Back that year.
Yeah. But
so,
I mean,
Dune,
we were really feeling the Beatles that year, man.
We were feeling it, man. We had the Beatle fever.
We sure did. Beatlemania.
It came
back.
So Dune is also on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Invisible Man is also on my list.
Yes.
Invisible Man, deceivingly simple, the effect, obviously. Just making a guy disappear. Just a guy in a green suit just walking around.
Just a guy in a green suit doing his thing.
But I think the thing about VFX is the simpler it seems, the more deceiving it actually is.
Yes.
And so much work goes into just every little bit of removing somebody from that. And it's not just removing him. There's all of that fake blood in the shootout scene. Mm-hmm. There's the hovering knife. And you never once doubt it for a second.
His golf ball head.
The golf ball head. Like, you believe every bit of that.
Yeah.
And that's how VFX, like, really, it's working. It's shining.
And I think there's something to be said about how Leigh Whannell put together the visual effects of this movie with his VFX team, in the sense that when he was on set, they acted, in fact, that the Invisible Man, Green Suit Man, was there doing those things. So when Elizabeth Moss is looking around like, who's there? There's a guy in a green suit there, actually moving around her silently, flipping over a knife, turning the burner off, like doing all these things. Like, that wasn't like an automated oven. They had the actor do that. Mm-hmm. So it's not just like only when you see her pushed against a wall. It's like every suspenseful, horrific moment around it, because I truly feel like there is something eerie Like really in the deep back of our subconscious, somewhere in all really the most intricate lens of the human eye can kind of tell there's something there.
Yeah. Oh,
And it's so insane. Like I want to rewatch that film all the way through.
I'm so excited to show it to Erica.
Oh my God.
She's never seen it. I'm so excited to watch it.
Erica!
Maybe this October I can convince her. It's
gonna blow your mind.
I've not watched it since the theater.
Mind, but it's quite good.
I'm very excited. I've not seen it since the theater.
Yeah, me and Angelina just started all spooky season screenings just last night with my first watch of Nosferatu. Very good.
I'm excited. We're going to watch that closer to the remake, but we are pretty amped.
I'm going to rewatch it, but I'm going to do a thing. Hopefully that they're doing a release where they were playing Radiohead's Kid A and Amnesiac fully as a score for the film. And
I do not know that album whatsoever, but assuming
here's
it's good.
The thing. Those two albums over that movie, God, I hope that comes to a theater in Vermont. It probably won't, but whatever.
And then Avatar: The Way of Water. Obviously a humongous VFX achievement.
Yeah.
Developing new patents for how water works on screen.
Yes.
And I don't have Dr. Sleep.
You don't have Sleep? I just realized you had Avatars like we have 4 together. You bat bastard. You got rid of Dr. Sleep.
Instead of Dr. Sleep.
Did you even rewatch those dream sequences?
I did not rewatch those dream sequences.
Dang it.
They're very nice dream sequences.
Yes, they are.
Dan, if you recall when this movie won the Oscar for VFX, someone put out a meme or it was just the footage and then they clicked reverse.
Oh, no. Dude, really?
My final nominee is Tenet.
Tenet. Ah. Yes, okay. Again,
I think that I saw Tenet on 70mm film recently.
You just saw that
dude,
thing,
the thing fucking holds up insanely well.
Really?
Insanely well.
Here's the thing. That didn't come to Vermont, so I didn't catch it, but I'm sure it looks good. I'm hoping Interstellar comes
I'm hoping
if
too.
it even exists. I raise.
I know, yeah. The same thing with Invisible Man, though. Like we joke, it seems like a very simple VFX, but so much detail, so much work goes into all those shots, and it's little things you never even think about being VFX. Which, Dan, we're saying you've seen this motion picture.
Yes, that is an image of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes, for people who are all
for those who aren't on the video chat.
There, as you're aware, Dan, is a raw cut on the Blu-ray where it's no VFX. It's just people in suits and empty parking lots.
What?
And they have a side-by-side of the actual actors on this empty parking lot, and then the full shot of them all in like Caesar's like village.
Whoa.
So, but that's the kind of thing. It's stuff you never think about being VFX. Is obviously it's so baked in.
So crazy.
So obviously, we're going to talk about this movie in a couple months, most likely. But also, I just want to like Tenet. Yes, it seems like it's so funny to say the footage is just reversed, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great work that goes into it, and that's why it just slightly edged out Dr. Sleep, a previous winner.
And that is fair. Okay, well, hell yeah. And I think Dr. Sleep looks great. Not much else to say on that. Let's move on. Yeah, best cinematography.
First, gonna start with a dual nominee. We have Linus Sandgren for Babylon and Linus Sandgren for Saltburn.
Ooh.
Claire Mathon, Spencer. Ari Wegner, True History of the Kelly Gang, and Jaron Blaschke, The Lighthouse.
All right, we got 2 in common.
Oh, baby.
And I will say my number 6 was True History. True History, the winner from 2020, was edged out. But my 5, all too similar, The Lighthouse and Spencer, followed by 1917, Empire of Light, and Poor Things. So we have a 1-2 Roger Deakins punch here. I think 2 of his best looking films in general have luckily come during Andy's seasons. So they've both gotten nominations. Beautiful movies. Oh my God, yes, Lighthouse. Yeah. Come on, man. 5 years later, it's still ripping from the first time we saw it in Albany. Oh, man.
The Lighthouse and Spencer, both movies. I think all 5 of my nominees are shot on film too, which that makes me who I am, but whatever.
Yeah, I think you're.
Though is True History digital? True History might be digital.
I think True History's digital.
Is it? Okay.
That
That's
might be
the
the
one
one.
digital nominee.
But it
then.
looks beautiful.
It does look beautiful.
Yeah.
And True History almost didn't make the cut for me. To be honest, I'm blanking what it beat out. But when I think about True History, and the big reason why it won that year, at least in my opinion, is that final scene that's all candlelight in the shootout.
Bonkers.
It's one of the most striking visual moments in a movie I've ever seen, where I couldn't catch my breath because I was so amazed at what I was seeing on screen.
But yeah, moving on. Best stunts. Another category that's new to the Andes. So we're only choosing from our 10 total nominees in Andes history. I can start this one off. My nominees for the Retroactive Best Stunts Award all Babylon, John Wick Chapter 4, The Iron Claw, and The Killer.
So we have 3 in common again, Dan.
Nice. Okay.
What do you think is our theme so far? So the 3 we have in common, we'll start there. John Wick Chapter 4, like I just said a minute ago, undeniable.
Yep.
Thing is filled wall to wall with absolutely incredible stunt work and incredible set pieces that really set that movie apart. RRR, the 2 things everyone in the movie does, but especially those 2 guys, absolutely incredible. They're spending months with one of them on top of the other's back, running through a castle.
And the dancing, all the dancing.
On the dancing. And then my final one we have in common is the Iron Claw.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I have The Killer in Babylon. Babylon, obviously, I kind of consider the stunts being like the horse riding, the call driving, and all of the, I don't want to call them fake stunts, but like the old Hollywood stunts that you see when they're making a movie, sort of a thing. And something as amazing as this is a moment that gets to me is when they're trying to shoot the first sound film with Margot Robbie, and the sound guy is like dying of heat exhaustion, and they open the door and he falls out. I'm like, that's not like an easy stunt to do, because you actually might hit your head, and you're supposed to look passed out. Your eyes are closed, and you don't know where your head is falling. So like little things like that where I'm like, that's really good usage of stunts in this movie. And then The Killer, obviously, oh my God, come on, that fight scene. Obviously, like all their many other amazing stunts other than that fight scene, I don't think any reached that peak of that scene. But there are certainly all other fight scenes and stunts, more traditional stunts we're talking about. The fighting, the punching, the kicking, going through panes of glass. That all very impressive in that film. But specifically the Miami sequence is like, wow. Which if you don't want to watch that movie, at least watch that sequence.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what else makes it on there for you?
So my other nominee was Everything Everywhere All at Once. I know you're not a huge fan of that movie, but the stunt work...
No, here's the thing. That's a good movie. And I have the issue of like when something gets overhyped to holy hell, I have a bit of an eye roll when it comes to like, oh yeah, Everything Everywhere. It was the movie of the year. I'll say it, you know?
A lot of great martial arts work. Obviously, Kiki Kwan was a stunt coordinator for many years. Hugh Jackman recently put out a nice post because Kiki Kwan did stunts on the first X-Men. Oh.
Like
so he was talking
X-Men 2000?
Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
So he was talking about just how it's been like 25 years since he's known him, and he's proud of him and all that stuff. And
that's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, so very cool. Great nomination. Great nomination.
Great nomination. Wow.
Great stunts.
We did
great
so
stunts.
good.
And then my final nomination, Dan, is it's fitting this is the final one because it's Magic Mike's Last Dance.
Oh, yes. Another great film for dance coordination and stunt coordination. And I'm very excited to kind of add to this stunt category as we go on to the rest of the decade. And are able to
I'm excited for the next 5 years.
Yeah, my God.
When we're doing this in 2029, who the hell are the nominations going to be?
I know, right?
I'm very excited for all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan, 2029, what a disgusting number that is.
I know, right? We're going to be... Let's not think about it. Moving on.
Dan, we're going to be 31 years old.
Yes, we will be.
Anyway, speaking of... I don't know. I can't think of a segue.
Speaking of turning old, best score.
Best score. My retroactive nominees for best score are Ludwig Göransson, Tenet, Alexander Desplat, Little Women, Rich Vreeland, Bodies, 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 Radwimps and Kazuma Janucci, Suzume, and Justin Horowitz, Babylon.
Connor, we have one in common.
Oh.
This is the first one we only have one in common, and it is Babylon. That amazing propulsive score. I will say one of the ones that did get cut was Tenet. Tenet was very close to making it on my list. It was probably the number 6, followed by the 2019 winner, Daniel Lopatin for Uncut Gems. 2 winners that will they're not making it, and I'm sorry. Best score, my second hardest category. Easily. Oh my goodness, it took me so much time to really whittle these down, but it was such a joy going back to all of these scores. It was beautiful. It was awesome. I mean, I couldn't believe how many great scores were on there. But even through that, really sitting down and being honest with myself, all of my nominees are from the past 2 Andys. And I couldn't help but be like, yeah, this is it. These are the ones that really stuck with me. So my nominees, all Babylon, the one we share, Baldo, Oppenheimer, Eileen, and Past Lives. So I have the 2 winners, Babylon and Past Lives, in there, as well as Baldo, Oppenheimer, and Eileen. Oppenheimer, I think being the score over Tenet that I really loved out of a Nolan film this decade.
Yeah.
Just that amazing theme. You just go back to the American Prometheus, which is like the theme of the movie, in my opinion, with those just plunging horn hits at like what you would call the chorus or kind of the climax of the piece. It's just amazing. So yeah, those are my 5.
Like I said, the reason I chose a lot of these, Dan, is, as you're aware, I use music to write when I'm working on screenplays. And these scores, because they're so deeply connected to my process of what I'm working on, they're just like nailed into my brain. Alexander Desplat's Little Women score has been my number 1 listened to on Spotify since 2019. Every single year. Because that is what I use to work on writing. It's now the Challenger score, too. That's going to be up there. The Tenet score, like I said, I just saw Tenet in 70mm a few months ago. The highway chase.
The highway scene. Yes. Okay.
That thing where Johnny Rogers hanging off the side of that fire truck, and right as he turns into the intersection, just like the ba-dong, da-dong. I can't even recreate it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like I can't even begin to make that noise.
We sound like Donk and Revis, ba-donk-a-donk.
Yeah, Donk and Revis. But yeah, that movie has so many hits that are so instantly connected to me. Like you said, the Oppenheimer score for you.
Yeah.
And Little Women, Suzume, and Tenet, and Babylon just are so deeply connected to me. And I love those scores so much.
Moving on, we are now into our acting categories. Starting off, yeah, I know, right? We have Best Supporting Actress. So, do you want to start it off, or shall I?
I started off last time, didn't I? So it's your turn to read off.
Yes. Okay.
Hey, Dan,
so,
I'm nervous. I'm nervous about the acting categories. I will say that for sure.
These are all personal nominees. It has
I
no
know, but
bearing.
I'm scared we're gonna have 0 in common.
That's fine. That's completely
go.
fine.
No, here's the thing. This is my honest. We're gonna have 2 in common in this category. It's my honest.
You think
prediction.
it's 2? That's your bet. Okay.
It's my bet. Let's go.
My bet is going to be somewhere between 0 and 5. All right. My nominees for Best Supporting Actress are Rebecca Ferguson for Dr. Sleep, Thomasin McKenzie for Jojo Rabbit, Thomasin McKenzie for True History of the Kelly Gang, Madeline McGraw for The Black Phone, and Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers.
Okay, we have 3.
We have 3. There we go. What do we got?
We have Thomasin for Jojo Rabbit, Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, and Madeline McGraw, The Black Phone. My other two, Dan, are Rachel Sennett for Bodies, 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 and Florence Pugh for Little Women.
I had a feeling you'd be going with the Pewster.
Yeah, I'm a Pewster.
My girl. No,
I'm sitting down at the pew, baby, ready to worship.
Anyways, no, Florence Pugh, great actress. Thank you for being a devout listener of Film and Film Asterisk. No,
I want to point out something very interesting to me is the dual Thomason nominations.
Yes, I gave it some thought, and I know back in the day, I was really nervous that there was a bias of me loving Thomasin McKenzie so much in Jojo Rabbit was the reason I wanted to do the True History nom, and the reason I wanted the Last Night in Soho nom, that I was so in love with her performance in JoJo that it actually got me to nominate her 2 more times. This was not the case. I will say that, like, out of all the nominees, I don't think Last Night in Soho is one of the strongest ones. Again, we have to pick 5 out of 25. So yeah, it's obviously still up there out of every year. But no, Thomasin McKenzie in True History gave a really impactful and mature performance that still kind of bewilders me to this day. It's partly how the character is written and how we don't get much of Thomasin McKenzie in the movie. But what we do get is almost mysterious in that way, in the sense that they're only giving us little glimpses at who this individual is, and yet she informs the film so well. This kind of outlaw, outback atmosphere that she fits into. What is her emotional draw in this film, and what does she remind the audience of? That's what I love discussing in my brain when considering her. And then Rebecca Ferguson for Dr. Sleep, easily one of my favorite supporting performances of the last decade. I love Rebecca Ferguson.
That was a hard cut for me too. The Senate nomination, she just fits so perfectly into the world of that movie and kind of the modern consciousness of the 2020s and
she's
Gen
like,
Z culture.
In the same way that she has her collaborations with
Emma Seligman.
Yes, I mean, because we get Bottoms and Shiva Baby, which is Rachel Sennett, kind of playing that similar comedic character because that's kind of her brand. Having her in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies makes that film have more depth in the sense of it being a cultural indictment, a cultural satire, something that feels like they're reflecting on this current generation with some kind of salient thought instead of just being like, ha, TikTok, we're dumb. I'm like, no. Like this, we're trying to discuss something here, and
you need to have people you believe in that world. So
exactly,
fully.
Yeah.
And Rachel Sennett, she reads like somebody that like was not an actor in the best way. Yes. It reads like a Sean Baker-esque thing where he just casts a real person. Like she just went to like Calabasas, California, and found a girl in an Erewhon. You know, that's what it reads.
Yes, the authenticity. So moving on. Best Supporting Actor. Kick it off, Connor.
My retroactive nominees for Supporting Actor are Mark Rylance, Bones and All, Charles Melton, May December, Troy Kotzer, Coda, Pete Davidson, Big Time Adolescence, and Mike Feist, West Side Story.
We got 2. This won't be a surprise to hear that. Mark Rylance and Mike Feist.
No Pete?
Pete's my number 6. Here's the thing.
I know you love Pete.
Here's the thing. He actually might be my number 5. He actually might be on the list. I will say that. But I could not believe that I did this. Because I'm still looking at this list. I'm like, is that real? But I went back and I checked. And yes, I do feel this way, weirdly enough. My nominees for Best Supporting Actor are Sam Rockwell for Jojo Rabbit, Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami, Mike Feist, Mark Rylance. So we have 4 winners. And then, God damn it, David Harbour for Gran Turismo.
Tan, that was a hard cut for me.
It was a hard cut.
It was a hard cut
good in that movie. It's like I couldn't believe it. I was watching the scenes and it's David Harbour, an actor who never coasts. He always is looking at a text and elevating. He's always approaching his character with the most intention and to use a Connor phrase, the most sensitivity. And he brings something so beautiful to that in how he emotes. This time he is a hardened ex-race car driver who is coaching young kids to be safe and learn to drive, who are just race car gamers. And these unlikely little heroes are going to go on and save video games and race car driving forever and roll credits. But no, like, seriously, he brings something so...
Like I said, Dan, he made me cry over a Sony Walkman product placement.
Exactly! I was like, what? So the Magic of David Hobel, sadly, Charles Melton does not make this list, but my number 6, easily Pete Davidson. One of the underrated performances of the decade so far, in my opinion. I'm glad you and I agree with that.
Okay. I'm going to get really quick, the controversial aspect of this.
Yes.
People hate the Rylance performance. We are the two people who love the Rylance
We love it!
I think Mark Rylance is incredible in the movie. I think he fits that world so incredibly well, and I think he gets under your skin to an insane degree, and he's incredible.
To the point where, like, I still don't feel like in his movie he's, like, real.
No,
like,
he feels like this, like, ethereal figure. Yes, like he feels this, like,
otherworldly. In a somewhat grounded film about cannibals, I mean, which is crazy to say to begin with. Yeah, it's just one of the greatest performances of the decade that I still gives me shivers and still makes me, like, just love the acting process. So yeah, I'm going to spoil it now, folks. We're moving on to Best Actress, and I can't believe it. There is a clean sweep of winners. The 5 winners from the 5 past Andes, all my 5 nominees. I went through each and every one. I rewatched movies. I really wanted to, like, sit down and be like, all these the 5, and they all. Saoirse Ronan for Little Women, Allison Janney for Bad Education, Kristen Stewart for Spencer, Michelle Williams in Fabelmans, and Emma Stone for Poor Things. My 5 favorite lead performances from an actress from the last 5 Andes. And Connor, please tell me why I'm wrong and who you picked.
We have 3 in common.
There we go.
We have Saoirse Ronan, Little Women, Kristen Stewart, Spencer, and Emma Stone, Poor Things.
Emma Stone made your list.
Yes, that performance is fearless, man.
Wow.
Michelle was a hard cut.
Yeah.
I have a crazy one for my spot. Julia Garner, the assistant.
Here's the thing. A really solid lead performance. Yeah. A very deserved nomination from Julia Garner. A film I wish made more of a splash when I think about it.
Yeah.
Considering the culture that Hollywood is in right now.
In my final pick, if you recall, Dan, it's a little bit behind the scenes for our listeners, there was someone I really thought to win last year's Best Actress, Andy, and that's Carey Mulligan for Maestro.
Okay, that's a little bit of a weirder pick.
No, it's not.
No, because I love Carey Mulligan in that movie.
I think Carey Mulligan is dynamite in that movie. And there's the thing, Dan, there's not very often I'm watching a movie and I start sobbing as I'm pumping my fist just saying the actor's name because they're, like, hitting me that deeply. So, Dan, I have a couple other wild picks here in Best Actor, if you're ready.
Yeah, bring it on.
My retroactive nominees for Best Actor are Adam Driver, Marriage Story, Shia LaBeouf, The Peanut Butter Falcon, Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Ryan Gosling, Barbie, and Oscar Isaac, The Card Counter.
Oh, thank God, we have one.
We have Oscar Isaac.
We have Oscar Isaac for The Card Counter. Wow. So someone is a big fan of 2019 lead actor performances. I will say, one of our strongest years. Still is.
It was a pretty great year.
It was a pretty great year. But I kind of take some offense that Robert Pattinson is not on your list. Are you kidding me?
Pattinson was a hard cut.
Oh, he was a hard cut. Come on. Shia would be a hard cut. Driver would be a hard cut.
You have not seen The Peanut Butter Falcon.
Robert Pattinson transformed my perspective of him with The Lighthouse, okay?
You came late to the Pattinson train. I was already transformed, baby. I was ready.
Had Good Time. You watched Good Time.
Baby, call me fucking Starscream because I'm already a fucking jet flying for that guy, baby.
Okay. Well, I mean, those are some very nutty performances. Did I hear you say Ryan Gosling for Barbie in there?
You're correct.
Yeah,
you did.
He's good. But like, we have 5 years to choose from, and Ryan Gosling for Balby makes it in.
It does. I think it's a great performance. Like, he should have won the Oscar.
All right, well, I let me just do my 5. So we have Oscar Isaac for The Cold Counter, which we can discuss. And my other 4 Robert Pattinson for The Lighthouse, Austin Butler for Elvis, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, and Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer.
I will say all hard cuts. This category was probably my hardest.
Austin Butler. I do feel like, as much as I love Ram Charan from RRR, that was the same year, 2022, Austin Butler gave the performance of his early career. An epic, difficult performance that I don't think any other actor on this list, Cillian included, put in that much dedication for a role like Austin Butler did for Elvis.
Well, it was kind of on accident to some extent.
I know it was kind of an accident because he just had to stay. He was stuck as Elvis. I know. But sometimes you make lemonade out of pandemic lemons, okay? Like,
yes, you do. Yeah, you do indeed.
So I just, like, I can't help but look back and be like, that was massively impressive. And obviously, it's not like I regret giving it to Ram Charan, but I'm happy Austin Butler was nominated because of just how we've seen him blossom as an actor, most notably with Dune Part 2 and Bike Riders this year. We've seen him continue his aesthetic journey and the performances he's decided to go for, and it's a treat. And Elvis is always going to be one to go back on, where you're like, this guy really did it. You know?
Yeah. Adam Driver for Marriage Story.
Megalopolis, out September 27th.
I'm fucking so excited. Megalopolis.
Oh my God.
Dan. You have no idea.
God.
I'm sure you actually have some idea.
I think I do have a little bit of an idea.
Speaking of Megalopolis, Shia LaBeouf, Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yes. Also in that movie.
You've not seen the movie still, is that correct?
No, 5 years on, I still haven't caught it. I'm sorry.
Peanut Butter Falcon has kind of disappeared, really. No one really talks in the movie. I still adore it. Shia obviously is a controversial figure. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I almost didn't put him here. But in Peanut Butter Falcon, he has such this inherent sensitivity and sweetness, and that movie just flows, man. I adore his performance, and it's just so connected to the heart of that movie.
Yeah.
And it's something you've never seen from Shia. Because even Shia is sweet, he can be sweet. He can be a nice guy. But you've never seen Shia this degree of just tender in a performance.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And then Chadwick Boseman, obviously, fucking legend. Gone way too soon.
Performance you have continued to praise over the years.
I know. I think Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is his best performance. And it's one where he fucking knocks it out of the fucking park. There's a sense of presence and, like, how, like, you feel watching the movie on your laptop like you were in the front row of a Broadway theater. Like, you feel his metaphorical spit hitting your eyebrows. And in the best way possible. Like, you feel like you are being screamed at. And every cell of your body is, like, vibrating at a new frequency because you're watching this man. And it's so fucking incredible. And then Ryan Gosling Barbie. He's just really fun and really
Ryan
cute.
Gosling for Barbie. And for my other performances, I guess the only one I didn't mention was Coleman Domingo, which was
like I said, a hard cut.
Hey Connor, have you seen a little film
Dan,
called Sing
don't fucking
Sing?
bring it up. I'm so fucking pissed you saw
2024's Sing Sing.
Dan, it is nowhere near me. I want to see it so bad.
I would recommend 2024's Sing Sing.
Dan, I know Coleman's incredible in it. I've also heard
I'm not going to say a single thing about what Coleman is in it because you need to see the movie.
I forget the guy's name. The kind of second lead of that movie, Clarence, is the guy's name, the actor's name.
Yeah.
He also looks fucking incredible in that trailer. I cannot wait to watch that movie.
Moving on, Best Director. The nominees for my Best Director at the Retroactive Andes are Robert Eggers for The Lighthouse, Lee Winnell for The Invisible Man, Pablo Larraín for Spencer, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, and Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer.
Dan, it finally happened.
Zero. Here's the thing. Really difficult category because we have so many different varied directorial voices. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'll say this. My number 6 was Justin Kurzel for True History. Was that one for you? No, still a zero. Dude.
Just run through what you love about your picks really quick, and then I'll do my picks.
Robert Eggers, I think his greatest statement is the film you can tell he mulled on for like 10, 15 years, and he executed it perfectly. He has amazing performance and a visual eye that is beyond most directors. I'm super excited for Nosferatu. Lee Winnell, very surprising to go back to this film and be amazed by how he directed a literal invisible character going off horror and suspense for something you truly can't see, and yet you feel like it's there all the time. Pablo Larraín, one of the most salient period pieces and biopics I've seen in a while, being able to show the sensitivity and the tragedy of Princess Di's life in the most compassionate way possible, putting her in a setting with her children, with her air quotes family, and her shitty husband. Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, one of the greatest films of the decade. I love her Malick-esque wandering southwestern masterpiece that she gets great performances out of actors and non-actors, and it makes me cry and feel good. Anyways, Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer, maybe my favorite directorial effort from him, albeit not my favorite movie from him. Very epic, crazy, trying to nail down who the guy was, trying to do that story and do it at such an epic scale and also make it intriguing for the audience when you're mostly sitting in rooms and talking. Absolutely crazy, amazing. I'm excited to see whatever he does next. That's my 5. Go.
My picks for Best Director are Denis Villeneuve, Dune. Helena Rain, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Steven Spielberg, The Fablemans. S.S. Rajamouli, RRR. And Emerald Fennell, Saltburn. Why I chose everybody? Denis Villeneuve, obviously you said Dan, with The Lighthouse. He'd been mulling it over for years upon years. Denis Villeneuve, when he read the book, him and his friend drew storyboards. They were drawing storyboards in their school notebooks of how they would shoot the movie that he eventually made like 30 years later. Yeah. There was so much like youthful joy to that movie because he lived it when he was a child. Helena Rain, Bodies, 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 a movie that is so incredibly timely, and she approaches that with such a unique lens and such a new energy, and I'm so excited for Baby Girl that just premiered at Venice. I'm so fucking amped. Steven Spielberg, The Fablemans. Obviously, he's directing his life. He's one of the fucking greats. Obviously, come on. S.S. Rajamouli, RRR. Talk about fucking energy. He's someone who's huge in Hollywood, and I can see why. I've not watched the rest of his stuff. I'm so excited for the one where the guys that fly. I just can't wait. But yeah, such energy, such enthusiasm, and just every moment of that thing fucking sings, especially the final action beat with them in the forest. Emerald Fennell, Saltburn. Someone who's so ingrained in 2007, it's incredible. She just fairly fits into that culture, and that movie is so disgusting and beautiful. And yeah, I hate that TikTok girlies have adopted it, but she really has put such special energy in that movie, and that thing sings from frame to frame. Like I just said for a previous meet, I forget which one I even said that for, but it sings from frame to frame.
Okay, so moving on, our final regular category before our final category, we have Best Picture. My nominees are The Lighthouse, Spencer, The Fablemans, Oppenheimer, and The Iron Claw.
Okay, Dan, we have one in common. We have The Lighthouse.
I have 4 Best Picture winners.
Dan,
are you kidding me?
I'm going to be honest, only one winner is on my list.
Wow. It's The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Crazy. What are your 5?
My 5 are The Lighthouse, Little Women, Bodies, 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 Triangle of Sadness, and Past Lives.
Bodies, Bodies, and Triangle being on this list is nutty.
Thank you.
I can't... Has Bodies, Bodies, Bodies really aged that well for you?
I think Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is still now. It has not aged at all because it has barely been born.
Wow. Man.
I think that thing is still in the process of utero, Dan. I think that thing is changing every single day and evolving.
Fascinating. Yeah, for a film that was shot 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. The way I approached... I don't have to talk about my nominees, just really quick. Yeah. The way I approached my 5 is when I thought about this past 5 years, 2019 to 2024, and what movies encapsulate that time for me, it's these 5. Like I just said, Bodies, obviously, still feels like it could come out this year and be like, wow, fuck, that's us, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's going to stay that way for a while, sadly. The Lighthouse, obviously, has very special memories for us.
Yes. That feels like the true Andes film, you know? The first film that was like, this is the Andes, the epitome.
You can't have a Best Picture of retroactively for the first 5 years without mentioning The Lighthouse.
Yes. It's interesting. You really did focus on, I think, the sense of what feels relevant to you in the current year of our Lord 2024. What films feel like they could still come out this year and feel like they are representative of the now, or they still are having this sense of understanding for where we as a society are, and you as an individual, where you, Connor, are with your life. I think that's a good way of approaching this. All right, well, we're just right back on to where we were, as if there were no interruptions. So
Not a whole drive in between.
I had a whole call drive in between this and this second little recording portion. And we are on to our final category. This is a little special category we've put together for this specific episode. Connor.
So this new category, special for only the retroactive Andes. So only every 5 years will this category be in consideration.
It's like a blue moon.
It's a blue moon.
Yes.
It is called the Retroactive Picture, or colloquially the I Fucked Up Award, or We Fucked Up Award.
Yes.
Like how the Thomas and Mackenzie Award is really the Folgers Award. Or the Folgers Best Part of Waking Up Award, but we wanted to make sure Folgers never got mad at us.
Exactly. I'd much rather Thomason give a shit than
I would rather
Folgers
Thomason
coffee.
give me the light of day than
Yes.
of coffee brand be mad at me.
Yes.
But the nominees of this, also 5 nominees, are movies that for some reason or the other we were unable to see in time for the deadline for the Andes. So these are films that maybe, hopefully, would have gotten not just a picture nom, but other nominations if we had seen them on time.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 of my 5 nominations, Dan, you've not seen, period, I'm pretty sure. So I'm very fascinated to hear your thoughts on these motion pictures.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, the nominees are you ready?
Yes.
The Novice, We're All Going to the World's Fair, Parallel Mothers, Waves, and Zero Fucks Given.
I think that last one is the only one I don't know.
Zero Fucks Given is a French movie that I think is very good.
Cool. No, see, all of those I have heard of before. Particularly,
Yes.
I've heard you praise Waves.
Waves, another movie people really don't love nearly as much as I do.
Yeah.
That thing punches me square in the heart, and I sob every time I watch
Oh,
it.
buddy. Yeah. Yeah.
And then The Novice, great little psychological thriller, much in the vein of Black Swan, but instead of ballet, it's rowing.
Rowing. Yeah.
And it's incredible.
The Novice. Is that one of Erica's favorites?
It is also one of Erica's favorites.
Yes,
Erica
that's
loves
where I
The
remember
Novice.
seeing it from. I saw it on the top 4 favorites. Yes. Yeah.
Lauren Hadaway, first-time directed that movie. She apparently works in sound, and she's been on the sound department for a lot of Zack Snyder movies. She was actually doing sound for the Snyder Cut while she was editing The Novice. Here's the thing, dude, The Novice, I think, honestly, Dan, if we would have... Here's because I saw it on time, technically. But I saw it came out a year previous. It was one of those things where the release date just didn't quite line up, so it was just a little bit out of competition, so it didn't count. But yeah, for me, that I would have fought for picture, I would have fought for director, and I would have fought for Isabel Furman. We're All Going to the World's Fair, I also watched really recently. Another major debut from Jane Schoenberg. A movie that captures the utter fear of being a young person on the internet so incredibly well. Zero Fucks Given is a French movie directed by, I'm probably going to butcher their names, but Emmanuel Maire and Julie Lecostier. It is a movie about a 26-year-old girl named Cassandra who is a flight attendant for a budget airline. And it's just her struggles with, like, this job where, like, she really cannot get invested and she feels so lost. And it connected with me so deeply, like, a couple years ago when I watched it, having just left Best Buy. And the main actress in it, which I'm definitely going to butcher her name, Adele Extrapolis, who was one of the leads in Blue is the Warmest Color. Yeah, it's pretty rad. She's also incredible in that movie. Gorgeously shot on film. and one that I wish people talked about, but no one knows the movie exists. I'm pretty much the only one. So that's my 5. That's my, if I, could turn back time, to quote Cher, if I could find a way, those that have been in the Andes those
That's
years.
a cool 5, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think in a true bizarre turn of sorts, I feel like I picked some more well-known films than you, almost, potentially. It was kind of hard to whittle down when it came to like thinking about categories that these films might have had a shot in. And there's some that just we knew we weren't going to get to because it was just so out there. But some of these I think really resonated with me. And I'm really happy I get to mention them now with the Retroactive Picture Awards. So my first nominee is a half fiction, half documentary, Crows Are White. My favorite film of 2022, which I was actually able to catch at VTIFF, the Vermont International Film Festival. The then director, she has since moved on, Oli Yadin, who was amazing. She always did amazing programs for VTIFF when she was getting films. She actually snuck into all theater to announce the film and was like, don't tell anyone else, but this one's my favorite. Not to pick favorites, but this one's my favorite. And like, I didn't take much credence in that, but then I watched it and it became my favorite movie of the year. It's this beautiful, touching story about this Irish Arabic filmmaker who goes to Japan to follow this sect of Buddhist monks, very like insular, unknown Buddhist monks, and kind of his journey with that and how his life weaves into his own story, basically. And it's just beautiful, and I would recommend it wholly. Next up, which I think would have gotten a lot of noms, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. I assume you know that one.
The Ted Bundy movie?
Yeah.
Dan, okay, that's crazy. Continue.
Is it?
Considering I have seen that movie and it did not get any nominations on my end.
I liked that movie quite a bit, but I didn't watch it till like the year after it came out. So for me, I was kind of a miss. But yeah, I think that film has a lot of cool elements. I love the editing and the production, but Zac Efron's performance is great. It's Lily Collins.
Yeah.
She had a really interesting performance. Kaya
Scodelario, I think, is great in that movie.
Yeah, yes.
And
Jim Parsons. Yeah, Jim Parsons.
Yeah.
Also amazing. He's probably my favorite role. I wish his role was bigger, though. So that was a film I kind of wish went in there. Do you not like it that much?
I think it's okay. I think here's the thing. I gave it 4 stars. I think the movie's good.
Yeah,
it's just not remarkable. There's nothing in that
Connor
movie
gives
that
a film 4 stars and says, it's okay, it's good.
Here's the thing. The movie is
dude.
very good, but the Andes are awarding excellence in certain categories. I would not say there's any particular category I'm like, fuck, that's the best of the year.
Okay, I can respect that.
There's movies I like a lot less that I think have better situation and characteristics than that movie.
Yeah. Next up, my third pick is kind of an interesting one. A very short film from director Roseanne Liang. Came out in 2020, and I would have, if I gotten the chance, probably given it a potential Best Actress nom for Chloe Grace Moretz's Shadow in the Cloud, where she plays...
crazy, Dan.
Of course. Yeah, this kind of really cool semi-micro budget film where it's really a Chloe Grace Moretz vehicle of her kind of stuck on this World War II airplane fighting something. No, it was a really amazing performance. It's the one that made me fall in love with Chloe Grace Moretz because I always liked her in Suspiria, but I think she really showed her acting chops in this. And it was just a really cool film. And if I had gotten the chance to really see it in the context of could this be an Andy contender, it might have gotten some stuff.
Wow. That's something I don't like.
So, you don't like that?
No, that's a 2.5 star for me, I think, Dan.
Nuts. Okay, that would have never made it. Next up, my 4th pick is Apichatpong's Weerthakul's Memoria.
Okay, a movie I couldn't have seen.
A movie we literally couldn't have seen. I had to drive down to Boston to catch, because it's basically, its release was a roadshow style where you can only ever see the film if it is being screened in a theater. It will never have a digital or physical release for audiences. And that is kind of the point of the film. It's part of the ethos of the film, and it makes sense when you're watching the film, how it kind of exists in this temporal place.
It's supposed to literally be a memory.
It's literally supposed to be a memory.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be able to go back to it unless you seek it out, which the main character is kind of doing. So it was this really transcendent experience that was unlike any film I'd seen. I didn't fall in love with it. I wasn't head over heels, but it is truly a film like no other that I wish we could have represented, but it didn't come to Indiana, man. So like, what could we do? And then my final one is a more recent one, another documentary actually from Wim Wenders, his documentary Anselm, which has amazing cinematography. Would it have gotten a nom considering last year's cinematography noms? I'm not sure, but I would have liked to consider it because it's about the history of this artist Anselm in Germany, his life, his experience, and the way the camera is able to capture these static statues and pieces of artwork, how it's able to bring all this stuff just on a page or just in a room to life in a cinema context is really jaw-dropping and awe-inspiring. It's been on the Criterion channel for a while, so you can catch it there, you, Connor, or the audience listening if you want to find it.
I keep seeing the thumbnail for it.
Yes. Yeah, it's worth a dive. It really is worth a dive, if not at least for just some stunning cinematography, but just a really cool story, a really cool documentary. So those are my 5 thoughts.
Yeah. It's a good 5. Here's the thing, Dan. I think it's a crazy 5. Because run through it real quick. Because I think there's 3 of them. It would have been like, Dan, you're crazy.
Yeah, Crows Are White. Okay. Extremely Wicked.
Which I've not seen Crows Are White, to be fair.
Yeah. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. You thought that was crazy.
That's crazy.
Shadow in the Cloud, probably the craziest. Memoria, and Anselm.
Okay, yeah, so it's just Shadow in the Cloud that I'm like, that's insane, Dan.
It's not that insane. I mean...
would it have been Picture and Moretz or just Moretz, you think?
It would have been Moretz. I don't think it would have been Picture. I think it might have been VFX. I don't hate the VFX in that movie. We don't have a screenplay.
Would that have been second annual Andes then?
Yes, 2020. Which... it might have had a shot.
It could have slipped in.
It was a weird year. It could have slipped in. If I really fought for it, you know.
Because if you guys, eagle-eyed viewers, notice there's not a lot of second Andy representation on my list.
No.
For my nominations.
I mean, I certainly had a few, but overall, I mean, like, I'm only seeing, if any, like, 1 poll category. And
there's none in picture for me, none in director for me. 1 in actor, none in actress, none in supporting. Oh, sorry, Pete for supporting actor.
Overall, out of every category, I only have 5. That's kind of crazy. You're right.
There's a better way to do this.
There's a bit of an off here.
2. I have 9, so I have more. But
yeah, but no, yeah, it's true. It's kind of a weird year. So maybe Shadow in the Cloud would have had a chance. Who knows?
Might have had a shot.
But yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That is the Retroactive Andes.
See you guys in 2029.
Oh my God, don't even. Like, hey, you will. You'll see. You'll be hearing from us, but man, it's gonna be a different world, man.
Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe we should shoot our shot or not. I don't know if we should or not. Let's try to have a host for the 2029. Let's try to actively be at a place where we actually have somebody relatively well known being a host for this in 5 years.
That would be so cool. I've always wanted to expand this into more of a show if we can make it happen. I mean, that'd be great. But yeah, I guess thank you all for listening.
Yeah.
When's the next time they might be hearing from us, Connor?
Well, Dan, I think they'll hear from us the regular. Well, they're going to hear from you with your best surprises of the year, whatever their thing's called.
Film Discovery. Yeah.
Film Discovery. And they're going to hear from us during regular Andy nominations, right? Or am I missing something?
I don't think you're missing anything.
Okay.
There is a special episode of the show coming out very soon, a surprise episode that will be showing up somewhere in the coming weeks.
Do I know about this?
You don't.
Okay.
Anyways.
Would you want to do a Megalopolis episode?
Probably. I'd
Maybe.
like to.
Okay.
If there's one, here's the thing. I do kind of want to do an episode or 2 in between that if you're down. Maybe stay tuned for things in between if we have some cool concepts.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If Megalopolis blows our socks off and legitimately we adore it, then yeah, maybe we'll do an episode.
Maybe we'll do an episode, yeah.
Yeah.
But until then, stay watching.
Stay
Keep
watching,
watching
baby.
films, you know?
Keep
Have
watching.
have a good rest of your week.
Yeah. Like I said, here's 2029. I can't wait for the next Retroactive Andes.
Yeah. See you then.
It's gonna be crazy. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening. I'm glad you like this concept, Dan. I'm glad it went over well.
It's the best.
Okay, bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.